Hey guys, I'm Pixel Dan, and this is a review of the Masters of the Universe ReAction figures from Super7. That's right, if you've ever wanted to see what Masters of the Universe looked like in the style of a Kenner 3 3/4 inch action figure, well that's what we've got right here thanks to Super7. And you guys might remember way back at last year's San Diego Comic-Con, they had an exclusive that were the unpainted sort of fake prototype versions of these four figures right here. Well, we now have the fully painted releases that are single carded, so let's take a look at them. And let's start with that packaging. Instead of looking more like the traditional vintage Masters of the Universe packaging, we got brand new cards that are more reminiscent of what Kenner was doing with their stuff, such as Star Wars, but it features some gorgeous new artwork. I mean, seriously, look at the artwork on these figures. I can see a lot of fans wanting to leave these mint on card just because of how beautiful the packaging looks. I absolutely love it. And then flipping those boxes around to the backside, we just have the little cross cell letting you know of the four figures in this particular lineup, and a little explanation of each character underneath that. So let's go ahead and open these figures up and take a closer look at them outside of the packaging. This particular first lineup gives us He-Man, Skeletor, Beast-Man, and Mer-Man. And all of the figures are painted to look like the old vintage He-Man figures, but are done in that classic Kenner 5 points of articulation style. So we'll go and look at them one by one here. So let me move all of our baddies out of the way, because I want to start things off by taking a look at the most powerful man in the universe himself, He-Man. So I gotta say, I did talk about these figures a bit already when we looked at those prototypes, but I still really love the sculpt of these. They're done to look as though they were made back in the early 80s as part of a Kenner lineup. So, of course, most popular at that time was their Star Wars line, so kind of think of these as a mashup between Masters and Star Wars, and that's exactly what we've got here. Love the sculpts here. You can see they have a very Kenner style look. The armor is sculpted on. It's not removable like we saw with the actual Masters of the Universe line, but you can see it still has a very familiar look to him, right? Still looks like He-Man, just much skinnier and more slender because of that build. Of course, they all feature 5 points of articulation, so the head rotates left and right, the shoulders move the arms up and down, and the legs move up and down at the waist, and that is all you're getting with these particular figures. He-Man comes with one accessory in the style of his classic power sword. You can see it's got a really kind of beefy look to it. It's actually huge compared to the figure. But it even has a little handguard on there just like the vintage He-Man's did. And his right hand can hold onto it. He gets a nice tight grip on it. And then the arm is just straight, of course. So the only way he can really hold that weapon is straight out. But that is our He-Man. Let's go ahead and move right down the line and look at some of the baddies here. I really love the way the bad guys turned out in this style. This is our Beast-Man figure. You can see he's done in a very bright orange look. Of course, has the bright blue furry trunks there, the red harness around his shoulders. That, of course, is all part of the sculpt. It's not removable, just like we saw with He-Man's. And again, much more of that slender build. I love the head sculpt. It's very reminiscent of the vintage Beast-Man head sculpt. It actually looks really cool. I love that. And then his one accessory, of course, is his whip, just like the vintage figure. And you can see that the whip portion is an actual string attached there. You can remove that. He just holds onto that small handle piece there with his right hand. The left hand is molded open, just like we saw with He-Man. So we can pose our Beast-Man there, holding onto our whip. Next up in the lineup is Mer-Man, one of my personal favorites. Always love Mer-Man in the vintage line, and he looks really cool in this more slender style here. I love this. Again, the head sculpt is really nice, very reminiscent of the way the character looked in the vintage toy line. It has that toy line head, not the packaging head, so that's kind of cool. And again, armor, all part of the sculpt there, but the colors are very similar to what we saw with the vintage figure. And of course, he does have his very cool sword that looks like corn on the cob, which is what I always thought the vintage sword looked like. But you can see that there. It's kind of molded in this yellow plastic, and he can hold on to it again with his right hand, just like we've seen with all of the other figures. Same articulation, 5 points, just like we've seen. And of course, lastly, that's going to bring us to Skeletor, Overlord of Evil. Really, really fun sculpt there. I love the way this guy looks in this Kenner style. You can see the head sculpt there has got that classic yellow and green, just like we saw in the vintage figure, the green kind of going around the skull. Got red eyes glowing on the inside there, the purple hood, and then that matches up with that slender body there. Non-removable armor, very similar to what we've seen with all the other guys. You do have the little monster feet there sculpted on, and of course he comes with the Havoc Staff, which looks a lot like the vintage toy version, just much smaller, of course, to fit in with this particular figure. He's got the right hand as the gripping hand, so it holds onto the weapon, holds on nice and tight, and that is going to finalize our Skeletor look. Alright guys, it's comparison time. Just for fun, let's take a look at these guys standing alongside their vintage figure counterparts from Mattel, just so you can see the differences there and how they really measure up with these brand new 3 3/4 inch ReAction style figures. So there you go, my friends. There is a look at the brand new Kenner-style figures of He-Man, Skeletor, Mer-Man, and Beast-Man from Super 7. I gotta say, these are really nicely done. They're very high quality. The plastic is nice and solid. The joints are tight. These actually feel and look like they were released in the 80s by Kenner. It's really impressive. I think it's kind of fun. It's like a neat what if to see what these characters look like in this particular style, and I think that is just a really fun toy. It makes for a fun, unique collectible, and it's pretty fun knowing that Super 7 plans to continue on with this line by giving us some more characters in this particular style. I was also a huge fan of the packaging, and like I said, the artwork on there is gorgeous, so I can totally see a lot of fans buying these and keeping them in the package, but if you do plan to open them up, they're really nice, high-quality figures, so really fun, especially if you're a fan of this more 3 3/4 inch style of figure. So these are available on Super 7's online store right now. I'll be sure to put a link in the video description so you can pick them up for yourself. Hey guys, if you enjoyed this video, why not hit that like button and subscribe so you never miss out on a review. Until next time, my friends.